By the way, I'm a cribbage player. Can you go while you're here?
That's fine. How much can you afford to lose?
I usually win.
We want to discuss that.
Mets?
That's your incredible wheelhouse. What are you doing here?
I explained, Sherry. First, I kissed my little Maggie.
That's darling! What a wonderful surprise!
Jefferson, you're standing in the presence of Professor Heidi Metz, world's greatest authority on insect life.
How do you do?
How do you do? Well, Sherry?
Metz, stop staring at me adoringly and tell me why you're here.
You are sick, Sherry, so I come to cheer you.
Jefferson, she once lived in a cave with nothing but flat lice for 2 whole years. She writes 3 pages in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Don't my little
Please, Sherry, you embarrass me. Look, I brought you a present to while away the hours. Please. I said to my students, boys and girls, I would like to give a present to my dear sick friend, Sheridan Whiteside. So you know what we did? We made for you a community of Paraplaneta Americana, commonly known as the American cockroach. Behold, Sherry, roach snap! Inside here are 10,000 cockroaches! 10,000 cockroaches, Sarah! Sarah, what is in the list? And in a week, if all goes well, there will be 50,000!
If all goes well, why, what could go wrong? They're in there, aren't they?
Quiet, please.
You can watch them as they live out their whole lives. Look, this is their maternity hospital. It is fascinating. They do everything humans do.
Well,
Maggie, please, these are my cockroaches.
sorry.
Metz, please continue.
With these earphones, you can listen to their mating calls. There are microphones down inside. Listen.
God, how long has this been going on?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Paraplaneta Americana. There are cockroaches in this house.
I beg your pardon! Mr. Whiteside, I do not know who this woman is. I will not stand here.
Then go upstairs. I have a feeling these are my guests for lunch. Metz, you're staying today, of course. Jefferson, stay.
You can't be serious.
Leave her alone.
What, Miss Flannery, what lovely elbows you got there.
From my mother's side of the family. Bob's girls were noted for their elbows.
I can see why.
My Barney was so partial to them, but then you and he are so alike. Get out! She never wants to see you again!
That can't be true.
You better believe it, Mr. Man! Thank you, Miss Flannery. Go on.
Well, my parents separated when I was really little, before I was even born. It's kind of one of those one-night sort of things, except during the day. In a meadow, where Mother used to watch my father pass by every day. I see him pass by every day. I mean, who doesn't, right? But I never really knew him, and he wasn't really around. I mean, not around.
Where better might we find a more precise illustration of the dangers of premature initiation than in this ancient tale of alternating parental indulgence and neglect?
I went to a really expensive school, and a lot of the kids there were, you know, sons of the rich and famous. And one day we were on the playground, and this one kid, Epithus, he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Phaeton, blah, 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 who's your father? Blah, blah, what does he do?" And I said, "He is the sun." He said to me, "Tell me another." And I said, "He is the sun, he is Phoebus Apollo." And he takes one look at me and he just tramples me, you know, beats the shit out of me like a lion.
When he matures beyond the cusp, neither his own opinion of himself, nor the regard for or lack of it in his peers, obviates the father's primitive role as initiating priest.
So I go home and I say, Mom, this happened, at school. And she starts crying, because she still loves him and it's an insult to her as well. And I say, Mom, if it's true, how come there's no proof? It's not fair to us. There's no proof. And she says to me, hear me, my son. Believe me that fiery orb that passes over the sky and heatens and enlivens our days and our nights is indeed your sire, and he looks down upon us in all his splendor. Hear me, my darling. Blah, blah, blah.
When he matures beyond the customary Eden of the mother breast, the child seeks to individuate beyond its enfolding gate, thus seeking out the new symbols of the paternal realm and beginning his spiritual passage from one sphere to the next.
So she tells me to go over to the meadow where my dad passes by every day and set things straight, to, do right by me. So I head out, and it's hot and it's dusty, and it's a long, long way across Ethiopia. And I hitch part of the way, and I walk part of the way, and finally, I get there. And the hill is steep.
But this passage is never easy.
At the door are my dad's secretaries, the days and the hours and the century, and they recognize me and they say, go on in. And there he is, all shining and golden. I can hardly look at him, so bright. He's so bright. And he says to me, my son, you are welcome.
My son, you are welcome.
Speak, Phaeton, to your father.
Phaeton, to your father.
I cannot even tell you what it's supposed to be, so I just tell him everything. I spill my guts, and he listens. And he says, let me grant you a favor.
Let me grant you a favor.
Whatever. Go slantwise.
Slantwise.
On and on, but I didn't listen.
Myths are the earliest forms of science.
It was over before it began. It was chaos, okay? Out of control, no one was driving. My knees were weak. I was blinded from all the light. I set the earth on fire. But it just destroyed me, destroyed me. O-V-E-R. Over.
It has been said that the myth is a public dream, dreams are private myths. Unfortunately, we give our mythic side scant attention these days, so we often don't understand our own actions. So it remains important and salutary to speak not only of the rational and the easily understood, but also of enigmatic things, the irrational and the ambiguous. To speak both privately and publicly.
The poor little house, their simple cottage, was becoming grander and grander. Gates with elaborate carvings sprung up, and the ground gave way to marble paving stones.
Old man, old woman, ask of us what you will. Whatever you wish will be granted.
Having spent all our lives together, we ask that you allow us to die at the same moment.
I would hate to see my wife's grave, or have her read in mine.
The gods granted their wish. The two arrived at a very old age together, stood at what had been their modest doorway, and now was a grandiose facade.
And bosses noticed that her husband began to put forth leaves. He saw, too, that she was protruding leaves and bark. They were turning into trees. In one final embrace, they called out to each other, with the bark closed over their mouths.
Farewell.
Walking down the street at night, when you're all alone, you can still hear, stirring in the intermingled branches of the trees above, the ardent prayer of Baucis and Philemon. They whisper,
let me die the moment I love dies.
They whisper,
Let me not outlive my own capacity to love.
they whisper,
Let me